Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. All right, dudes. Welcome back to the pod, episode 23. Last episode, it was like 5 p.m. Now, it's not bright and early, but this is the earliest I've ever done a show, I feel like. It's 8:45, and I got some things planned this weekend, and I was like, now's a good time to get it done. And I'm feeling good this morning. A little bit sleepy, have matcha again. This is kind of funny. I guess we're coming full circle, and I didn't even realize it till now. Taking another little sippy, just like we started last epi. Lovely. There's so many chords going on, which it's the same number of chords that are always here, but for some reason this morning they feel like a lot and they're overwhelming me. But I had such a great meditation this morning. I've been loving, I'm going to share with you guys what it is because I've been vibing with guided meditations these days, and I found this YouTube channel. She's very big. It's Boho Beautiful Yoga. Boho Beautiful Yoga, and she has different meditations. And this morning I did the best morning meditation, 15 minutes through a perfect day. And she has like 10-minute ones or 15-minute ones. And I just have really been enjoying them for whatever reason. Basically, it led me into, I just felt really, really grateful during my session this morning. And specifically, it got to a point where I was kind of emotional about it. Like, I just was like, whoa, I'm so grateful to be doing life with me. And I know that sounds weird, and I know that people usually say that about their romantic partner. Plot twist, I'm in a relationship with myself. But like, we really all are in a relationship with ourselves. This isn't what this episode is about. This is just my gratitude. But I just was feeling really thankful to be able to do life with me, I guess. And like, I really see myself as two different people. I know I've mentioned that before, and maybe I'll do that a whole episode on that. But I just truly feel like there's two, like, I feel like there's me, like my consciousness, my awareness, and then my body and like my avatar, if that makes sense. So it's like, I guess I was just feeling so thankful that like I chose this avatar, and not only just my body, but just like my mind, like me as a person. I just was really thankful for like who I am, I guess, and that I'm able to, that my consciousness is able to do life with my mind and my body in this lifetime. Because, you know, we're our own life partner, and that like really hit me even louder, and it just was very amplified to me during this meditation this morning. And I just was like, damn, I'm really happy. I'm glad that I chose me, which is actually like a really powerful thing now that I think about it. And I feel even grateful to get to a point in my spiritual and self-love journey that I truly feel that way about myself and my relationship with myself. But it's very true, and I feel grateful to feel that way. So that's my gratitude for today. For this episode, we're going to be talking all about relationship with food. And I didn't realize until I kind of sat down for a minute and just reflected on this episode and the direction that I wanted to take it and outlining it, until that like I realized, whoa, I didn't realize how much I needed this episode, I guess, in the past. And I know that there's, especially lately, I've gotten a lot of comments from younger girls, like 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and I'm still young, right? I'm 22. I'm going to be 23 pretty soon here, and it's the 23rd, and it's episode 23. Whoa, it's the 23rd as I'm filming this right now, and it's episode 23. That's not that cool, but like, I think it's cool, and I'm turning 23 in like a couple months. But anyways, what I was trying to say is that just like that age, that's when I started this whole journey, this health journey. I wasn't really into mental health yet, but like my eating and my training, I started it when I was around like 16, 17 years old. And I just know how much of like an impressionable time it is in life, especially with building your foundational relationship with these practices and with these health tools and things like that. And I know it can be very tricky and confusing, and it's easy to overthink it all. And again, thinking back to where I was and everything I went through since I was 16 or 17 till this point to learn. Like, I just want to help you guys as much as I can and help tell you guys what I've learned up to this point to hopefully help you guys kind of skip over, any toxic phases, I guess, if you will, with your eating and training and things like that. And I just am trying to say, I know it's a difficult time, especially when you guys are in high school and things like that. And there's just that's where I feel like fads or like different fad diets are tried, and you feel this pressure to be a certain body image and all that sort of stuff, like especially as you're developing and maturing and going through your whole puberty and all that sort of stuff. Like, I just know it can be hard and a lot to dissect, to navigate, to figure out. And I just really hope this episode can kind of bring you guys some clarity and more direction, because the goal is to always have a healthy relationship and a healthy view with all of these things. At the end of the day, quote unquote, eating healthy, training, all that sort of stuff is to help us live our healthiest, best life. And it's ironic that a lot of unhealthy and toxic tendencies come out of trying to partake in these quote unquote healthy practices if it gets out of hand mentally. And that's something that I really learned the hard way. And so I guess that will just take us right into my kind of background with my relationship with food. So I never was diagnosed with an eating disorder. I still would never say that I struggled with an eating disorder, even if it wasn't diagnosed, I guess what I'm trying to say. But I definitely did. I was so freaking strict with my fitness journey at one point in time, with my training, with my eating. I was super harsh, super strict, super rigid with it. And I guess to go back even further, growing up, my family was, my mom was a bodybuilder. My dad was a gym rat. He still is. And my dad is an extremist. And no one understands. I'm like, my dad's crazy. Everyone's like, haha, same. or they just think it's a joke, which I love him to death. And he's genuinely is one of my actual best friends today. But he's very extreme. So growing up, he just was very strict about our diet. Even when we were this is going to sound so toxic and it kind of was questionable, but I feel okay to share it because a lot of people's relationship with food branches and stems from their, the way they were raised or what they saw with their childhood or with their parents relationship with their food, any childhood trauma. There's a lot of childhood trauma surrounded around people's relationship with food that I feel is not spoken about a lot or enough. And that's why people today, as they get older, still struggle with food. So I feel it's worth, I guess, speaking about my childhood to maybe help you guys reflect on what the food situation was in your home, the example of your parents and their relationship with food, because that could have definitely instilled some deep-rooted subconscious beliefs within you that, if you reflect on that, will help you guys gain the awareness to then be able to dive in, heal those traumas, think and analyze those subconscious beliefs, and you go in and choose if you want to accept those beliefs or not. I feel will be very powerful and will help you heal your relationship with food today if you're really struggling. So for me, it was always super strict. I remember in elementary school, I don't even know if they still make them anymore, the 100-calorie snack packs. I remember my dad would say oh, you could take one. I had a whole other lunch with it, but we would basically, more of the story is we were eating controlled calories from a very young age. I was very aware of, this is lower calories, so quote unquote, this should be better for me. I didn't know that whole thing. And also because the era my dad was in as well, when he started his quote unquote fitness journey, that was when it was kind of the thing of low fat, the better. People would buy low fat things all the time. And so that was kind of, he was doing the best he could with the information he had. So I still remember we would buy things that were low fat and all of that sort of stuff. And so honestly, to be 100% honest, because I have two older sisters, I'm surprised that none of the three of us developed an actual trigger warning, but eating disorder. I just am surprised. It would make sense for one of us to kind of come out with being raised in such a calorie conscious environment that we just didn't. I don't know. Sometimes I'm damn, props to us for still holding our own, I guess. But it was never to the point I don't want to concern anyone. It was never to the point that I guess was very toxic in terms of my dad commenting on what we were eating, but it definitely was a conversation, and we definitely were aware of what we were eating and all that sort of stuff. Definitely more than the average kid should have had to be around. We were around a lot of diet talk, calorie talk, eating healthy, don't have the cake, that sort of thing. And so I think that kind of set me up to feeling like I needed to be super strict when I finally had my own, and like when I went off to college and was like making my own food choices. I definitely had that instilled belief that like ice cream is not good for you. You should not be eating ice cream, et cetera, et cetera. You know where I'm going with this. So it led me to be very strict. Throughout college, my freshman year of college, that's when it was the worst, I guess, or the worst, I would say. Like I was training 6 days a week, non-negotiable, pretty much like to the max and the most intense that I could train without it being like super over the top. Like I knew that you needed a rest day. Let's put it that way. So I had the grace to give myself one rest day a week, training the 6 other days, very hard. I incorporated HIIT training on top of those weight training sessions eventually. And I remember like the whole first year, like I never got ice cream for the dining hall. I never got pizza. I never got the pasta. Like it was always chicken, brown rice, or turkey burger with a whole wheat bun, always oatmeal, like a turkey sandwich on wheat bread. Like just the very classic, like I just was very, very strict all the time. And it led me to, if anything, I had classify it. I'm also realizing how much I say like. I need to work on using less filler words. But I realized that it was more so orthorexia is what I would have categorized it. If anything, I just really was very consumed and anxious about always making quote unquote healthy, clean choices, which at the time that meant whole wheat starchy carbs, or whole grain starchy carbs, healthy fats, and a lean protein, and fruit and vegetables, obviously. But like that was the only thing, that is what I deemed as clean and healthy at the time. And I still remember there was a point in time, which I guess was the closest to when I realized like, whoa, like maybe this is getting to an obsessive point. I remember there was a time where because I would keep some snacks in my dorm because we had a mini fridge. So I would keep like Greek yogurt, some fruit in there, etc. And I would have like this snack at night. It would be like Greek yogurt with dark chocolate chips, almonds. It was so good. My dad always would eat it and it was so freaking good. It's still great to this day. I just don't really eat a lot of dairy. But there was a point in time where I was eating chocolate chips and almonds just together by the handful. And there was just a point in time, I consciously remember this, I just couldn't stop eating them. Like I just was I was standing by the edge of my bed because I still felt hungry. I think this is when I was trying to go into my first cut. And it was the first time I had felt like hunger for the first time in a while, because before that I was bulking, so I was just always eating. But I just remember I was just eating them. And I just remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't stop. And that was like the first time I ever had that feeling. And that really was stemming from me restricting previously, A, because I was on a cut, and B, because I didn't let myself have any ice cream or pizza or anything like that for like that whole year when I was there. And especially being in that like freshman college environment when like that was the thing, order pizza, Domino's pizza when everyone's drunk at 2 a.m. Like I rarely drank my freshman year of college as well because I thought it was bad. Like I just was trying so hard to be perfect and be as healthy as I can be, because I was that way with everything. Like when I was obviously also in school, I wanted to do the best that I could in school. So I felt like that was the same thing. I wanted to do the best that I could with my training and with my eating. And it just I had no grace with myself. I had no forgiveness with myself. I had no grace. Like I just had to be perfect all the time, and it just was very consuming. And then it kind of got to a point where I was like, whoa, is this actually getting out of hand and is too much? And I remember telling my friend Joanna that, because I also knew that, too much of anything could be too bad. I just never thought that I was in that category. And I remember telling her, like, I think this is getting a little out of hand. Like I had my first experience with feeling I had the awareness of being like, whoa, I'm feeling very obsessive about this lifestyle. And I remember being open with her and talking about that. And that awareness kind of started to lay the foundation for me, like gaining a new perspective on everything. So that was kind of my history relationship with food. Since that point, I kind of had worked on having more grace with myself and like letting myself have more treats. Because it got to the point where like at holidays, I wouldn't let myself have anything. Like I remember at Easter, my grandma is like a huge baker. It's like a huge joke on my dad's side of the family for us to just have treats, like save room for dessert like during dinner. My grandma would always say that if we're eating dinner, like save room for dessert. all that sort of stuff. And I just remember even going to those events and stuff and like seeing my family, and I wouldn't want to eat anything because again, I thought it was quote unquote bad. Like I thought I was doing the right thing by not eating them. And that was kind of the point of it all, is like I thought I was doing the right thing. Looking back now, I just am like, bro, so whatever. Okay, so that was kind of my history with the relationship with food. It just got very extreme in terms of trying to be perfect and eating healthy all the time, 24/7. So now I wanted to kind of share things that helped me and changed my view on it, because relationship with food, it completely is 100% mental. Like in what I've learned, it really is so mental. And so these perspective shifts have really freaking helped me. So the first thing is to not categorize foods. There are no foods that are good or bad. And seeing that has that viewpoint has changed things tenfold for me, because like I said, I thought like pizza, ice cream, all that sort of stuff, that quote unquote junk food, was bad for me, and it was going to like directly inherent my health, like hinder my health. And that just made me so anxious around food. That was the biggest thing. It would make me feel anxious around food, because I would see ice cream and be like, oh, that looks so good and so appealing, and I know it tastes so good, but I can't have it because I know that's really bad for my health. Like that's a no food. And that just would make me feel so anxious, and would also make me want it more, and then would lead me to like overthinking about food and constantly having food-based thoughts, which is kind of that obsessive thing like I was talking about previously. Like you shouldn't have to go your whole day thinking about food constantly. It just shouldn't be. It's just a waste of energy and an investment in your energy that you shouldn't need to make. So now, if anything, I just see food as more nutritious and less nutritious. And seeing it in that way has, again, helped me to rid myself of the anxious and anxiety-ridden thoughts around food, but has also helped to give me clarity of choosing actually a food that is best for me in terms of my body, what makes me feel good, what's fueling me, what isn't fueling me in the moment, what's serving me in the moment, what isn't serving me in the moment. So, like, for example, ice cream still tastes good. It's not a no food. It's not a food that's off limits for me. It's a food that I'm fully have the full freedom to have. However, if it's something that's like after a workout, if I'm, wanting to feel good in my day, sometimes I'm like, ice cream, it's going to taste great for sure. But is this fueling me and nourishing me in the moment when I know that I haven't eaten? You know what I mean? Like I need a meal right now. Is ice cream going to nourish me and make me feel good and give me the energy? Probably not. So I'm going to go with, this really nourishing salad with a bunch of greens, a lot of colors. I got my protein, healthy fats, some carbs in there. That's what's going to make me feel good. That's what's going to nourish me. And that's what's kind of giving me the clarity to actually want to make the choice to have the salad, because I know it's going to fuel me and I know it's going to nourish me. And that's also a key, which I'm going to continue to get into in this episode. It's kind of about you making the choice of what you want. It's making the choice of aligning with what you want in the moment is what's going to make it easier for you to make that choice, because it's what you genuinely want, right? So in that moment, choosing a food that you see as actually nutritious is what's going to make you naturally want to choose that salad, quote unquote, or whatever, the Buddha bowl over the ice cream. And that's so powerful when you're choosing things that you actually want, because it's in alignment with your intuition, with your actual desire. But it makes you feel like you're not doing anything against your will. Because when you feel like you're doing something against your will, the decision sucks. It feels like a drag. It feels like a chore. So that's been such a freaking key to me. So then next thing I have here written down is have everything in moderation, which I know is so cliche. I kind of almost don't like when I say it, but it's very true. I have sweets every single solitary day. Like genuinely every day I have sweets. And not only like will it be healthier, like for example, like my fruits and my oatmeal and that sort of thing that's like genuine, or like dates, like things that are genuinely like very clean whole foods that are just inherently sweet. I definitely make the effort to incorporate those in my diet. But at the same time, also I'll have healthier quote unquote versions of what I love. And then I'll have the real deal, I guess, if you'll say, every so often. So like I have those mini Blue Bunny ice cream cones, which are so freaking good and rock my world. I'll have those every day. Or I'll have like the Oreo thins, which are still like the real deal. They're just smaller portion sizes to help me like in terms of weight management and all that sort of stuff, and stay in my normal, I guess, caloric window, even though I'm not super big on calories. But those are great options for me to have. Or I'll have my Snicker dates or things like that, where I'll have my sweet treats like every single day. Like if I'm craving something sweet, I will have something sweet. And that has just helped me so much instead of trying to be completely clean throughout the whole entire week and then having quote unquote cheat days or that sort of thing. Like that's where I feel like people will binge or will eat a whole dozen donuts or feel like they're, can't wait for the weekend so they can have their cheat days, like that sort of thing. Like it's just not the way that I want to live. And I feel it really causes segregation in your diet and just separation in a way that doesn't need to be there, and again will cause you to overthink things, and just I don't know, it also causes you to not listen to your intuition and your cravings in the moment. Like if you want something sweet on a Tuesday and you're like, well shit, I gotta wait for a Friday so I can eat it, that doesn't vibe with me. And that has also been to the point where my spirituality has branched into this, which I'm also going to get into later in this episode, of how, channeling more of my spirituality and getting into spirituality has allowed me to listen to my hunger cues and cravings more unapologetically. And when you don't let yourself have what you're craving in the moment, or, what your genuine desires are in the moment, and you wait for the cheat days and don't have things in moderation, it really causes you to just neglect your body and your body's needs. And it severs that tie between you and your intuition and your hunger cues and your cravings and actually hearing what your body needs. Your intuition is a muscle. Just like how the same kind of theory, how people say that discipline is a muscle. You need to work on it to accumulate and practice it to strengthen that skill. Same thing with your intuition. You need to listen to it and practice listening to it so that it becomes clearer and louder and easier for you to hear and listen to. And so same thing happens when you are neglecting your cravings throughout the week and wait for your quote unquote cheat day and don't have what you're craving in moderation. It's just kind of creating a distance and a block between you and your body and your body's needs. You're between your mind and your body's needs, honestly. So like I said, I will have a sweet or a healthier version of it freaking every single solitary day, and then I'll have the ice cream or whatever, like every week or every 2 weeks, whatever. Whenever I'm like actually feeling like I genuinely want it. Like sometimes these healthier versions completely curb my sweet tooth, and sometimes I'm like, I don't freaking want my Bad Bunny ice cream cone. Bad Bunny, not Bad Bunny, my Blue Bunny. My Bad Bunny's a freaking Spanish rapper or whatever, artist, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want my Oreo thins. Like, I want the real I'm craving ice cream, or I want frozen yogurt with all the toppings on it. I'm like, I'll go to freaking Cold Stone. So my next tip, which has also really freaking helped me and kind of goes hand in hand with the last thing I just said, remind yourself that you can have it whenever you want. This was honestly probably the biggest game changer for me. Sorry, for some reason I wanted to check if the mic was on. But this was probably the biggest game changer for me, fully, wholeheartedly, because this was something that because again, I feel like growing up, we did not have a lot of sweets in the house at all. Quote unquote junk food we didn't have. We didn't have a lot of processed foods, etc. And then also going into college, I just always made the choices for those healthier foods. Like for me, I just never even bought, because even second year of college when I had my apartment, I wouldn't even really buy junk food or whatever, because we didn't at home. Like I was never in the house growing up. So I was like, I'm not going to have it in my apartment, if that kind of makes sense. Like it was always something that I had either when I was at my grandparents' house or when we were out and about, and like that's when you went and bought ice cream, that sort of thing. It never was like we had this stuff inherently in the house, which I know is kind of odd now that I'm thinking about it, but I feel like probably a lot of you can relate to that. It always seemed like you had to go out of your way to go get it. It was a treat. It was a once in a blue moon thing. It wasn't just like in our stock of our home. But like, for example, my friend Hannah, like her house was the house that was always stocked. Her pantry was stocked. She would have the fruit roll-ups. She would have the ice cream, all the sugary cereals. Like, and I remember her house was the freaking place. Like I was like, you're able to have, like to me it was like having a massage chair in the house. Like I'm like, you could get a massage like in your own home. What is this? Or like that sort of thing. So it always seemed like it was a fleeting thing. Like so when I was around this quote unquote junk food or the treats, it made me feel like I needed to have it then and now, because I don't know when I'm going to be around it next. So even if in the moment I wasn't hungry or wasn't craving it in the moment, I felt the need to have it then in the moment because it's going away. Like now's the time for me to have it. So that would kind of again lead me to be food focused. If I'm out and like in social settings, if I'm at a party, like someone's graduation party, it made me feel like I need to have it now because I'm not ever going to be able able to have it again. So that would kind of lead me to be food focused. Again, more anxious thoughts, this thought of the food and treats being fleeting, kind of neglecting again my honest true hunger cues and cravings, because even if I didn't want it, I felt like I needed it then because it was going away, or just simply because I thought it was fleeting, it made me want it in the moment because it wasn't an abundant thing. See, that's like principle of life. The more abundant it is, high supply and demand, the greater supply there is, there's less, usually there's less demand for it because it's more easily accessible. Not to bring economics into this. But so anyways, telling yourself that you can have it whenever you want has changed the game for me, because I'm like, no, you can go to the store and go get it if you want it. Because let's go with this example. For example, let's say you're at a graduation party and they have some cake. In the moment, you're like, I don't even really know if I want cake, but I just feel like I want it because it's here in the moment and I feel like I don't know when I'm going to have it again. That used to cripple me and be like, I should just have it now. When in the moment and that point now, when I'm in those situations, I'm like, hey, I don't really want this right now, but if I really am still wanting it tomorrow for whatever reason, I'm still thinking about it when I wake up in the morning, you can go to some place and go and pick yourself up some cake. We live in an abundant world. There's stores everywhere. And even if it's okay, maybe you don't have a great cake shop near you, but you can go get another treat. You can go get ice cream. You can go, get candy at the store. I'm just using this for example that you can truly have it whenever you want. And just telling myself that has just lifted off so much of the weight off of anxiety around food. I can't even explain why, but it just does. Anytime I'm out and I'm feeling anxious, oh, there's a treat, should I eat it? I'm like, listen, if you don't want it right now, no stress, sister. You can go get it whenever you want. Don't feel a need to have. That's another thing also. Maybe you do want it in a moment, but you feel like you need to keep eating it because you don't know when it's going to go away. Have your normal serving that makes you feel good, right? Curbs the craving. That was delicious. My stomach doesn't hurt yet. But I also know people who will just keep eating it and eating it and eating it because, again, they think it's going to go away. Have your normal serving that makes you feel good. And then be like, hey, if I'm still wanting this the next day, I can just go get it. Maybe in 3 days from now, I'm going to want it. Just go get something else to curb that sweet tooth. Don't feel like you need to just completely binge right now because it's going away. It'll always be there because you can always go get it. I feel like I'm extending this point. But moving forward, next tip, another game changer for me, is to realize that you don't actually want it all the time. Now, this sounds weird, but let me explain. When you think that you can't have something, you want it more. So, for example, previously, when I thought that ice cream and whatever was bad, it made me want it all the time. Oh, that always sounds good to me. I would so eat it right now if someone offered it to me because I felt like it was off limits, if that makes sense. And so I inherently just felt like I wanted it all the time. But when you actually kind of realize when you're like, hey, if you were to think about it, if I actually had ice cream every day, I would feel gross. I would feel sluggish. I know that it wouldn't, if I had that much of dairy consistently, that would eventually catch up to my stomach and not make me feel good. And I know that it doesn't align with my goals. And I know that it doesn't align with me living my best, highest, healthiest, highest self life. When you think about it, just I wouldn't have it all the time, even if I felt like I would want to, simply because it was off limits. So sometimes I'm thinking I'm struggling to explain this one, but I guess when you think about sweets for a lot of people or whatever, some people like chips. I need to attend to my salty people. If you like treats or French fries or that sort of thing, salty chips, not treats, chips or French fries or that sort of thing. Thinking about it in the sense of hey, I actually don't want this all the time because I know sometimes it makes me feel really great mentally, but on the back end, I know that it makes me feel like crap physically. And so reminding myself of that also kind of took away the constant googly eyes over it, if you will, and feeling I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I guess the googly eyes and just feeling more confident and again, more of kind of back to that first point I've made where it makes me want to make the healthier decisions, whether I'm at a restaurant or in terms of having an apple for something sweet as opposed to a cookie. It's reminding myself of hey, these things are what's actually going to make me feel good. And I want to feel good in this moment. This is what's going to help me stay more in alignment with my goals right now, which is what I want in the moment. So I am going to have that apple over the cookie, that sort of thing of just reminding myself of I actually want to make the healthier option sometimes, because you take the time to be more mindful and intentional of the long-term effects, right? Like these sweets or the salty things, the French fries, the fast food, that's going to make you feel good temporarily, but that's all it is. It's short-term gratification, but it's almost always going to make you feel crappy on the back end. Whereas, choosing the apple or the salad or, the taco bowl, that's going to make you feel, those things taste great in the moment, in my opinion too. But they're also going to help you feel good in the long term for the whole day. They're going to make you feel better. They're going to be more in alignment with your long-term goals, that sort of thing. So that has kind of reminded me of sometimes what I actually want is the healthier option. A lot of the times what I want, honestly, hence why I'm eating healthier things 80% of the time, because I know it's what makes me feel good. It's what's nourishing my body. It's honoring my body. It's helping my body operate at its highest potential. So again, going back to that main concept, when you're choosing the option that you actually want, it doesn't feel like a chore, and it makes you feel like you have more freedom and control of your life, which I feel like is way more powerful than people think. And the next tip that I have is to let yourself enjoy the treats. And this is kind of where my spirituality has come into play, like I was saying. Treats or your salty treats, whatever you want to, treats don't have to be sweet. Your sweet or salty treats, they are good for your soul and your inner child. And this was something that I neglected for so long. I've always loved treats. Always, always, always growing up. Growing up at my grandma's camp, like my dad would always, I guess, pick fun at me of how much I would just eat and enjoy the treats. Like my eyes would light up, like more than my siblings. I'd be like, cookies, ice cream, like yes, like I would always want that. Like it's a part of my personality, honestly. And for a long time, I was suppressing that part of my personality, like especially when I was 17 up to probably 20 years old, and when I just wouldn't really let myself have those things, or I would pretend that like I wasn't interested if people wanted to get ice cream, because that was also a big identity crisis, because that was when I was starting to get into this health and fitness and all that sort of stuff, and I felt like I couldn't be passionate about health and wellness and fitness if I still liked treats and if I still wanted to eat ice cream. Like for me, that was like a fraud. Like that was me being a hypocrite. That was me not, being discerning or having integrity with my word. And I realized you truly can enjoy both. Like just because I still enjoy and am passionate about health, there's still other facets about health. Health is not one dimensional. Health is not, like I'm trying to say, enjoying treats is still part of your health, especially when you're talking about mental health and mental peace and sanity and all that sort of stuff. Like, yes, sometimes eating a lot of treats and overindulgence, right? There's a fine line between indulging and overindulging, but that's with anything in life, you guys. Too much of anything is still too much. Too much like alone time and self-exploration, still too much of that is still too much. You're going to feel isolated and sad and depressed, and that you can argue that for anything. Too much water is still too much, and can damage the body. So just was the same thing of like, yes, you can still be passionate about your health, but too much of anything is still too much. There needs to be balance in what you're doing. And so you can still indulge in your treats without it being overindulgent. And so realizing that, I guess, has kind of helped me again so much, and has allowed me to honor who I truly am, and has given space to allow my inner child to come through, and has allowed me to nurture that part of my personality. Like, it's fun to go out and get ice cream and just enjoy those treats. Like, I love all the fun colors of getting toppings on your frozen yogurt, like all that sort of stuff. So I realized that it's good for my soul health, for my inner child, to help, help my mental space relax and not feel like I need to be so rigid and structured all the time with my nutrition. And so I guess I've also learned to see it as another facet of health. Like, to me, I now see it as a healthy thing in terms of balance, to allow myself to have ice cream and to have treats. Like, now it feels good when I do those things, because I'm like, I'm feeding my inner child, I'm feeding my soul, I'm letting my mind relax, I'm allowing myself to have fun, mindless fun, and allowing myself just to be in the moment, which is so freaking powerful. And it's just crazy, because when people think like a healthy relationship with food, they think of the healthy foods that you're eating, but it's almost an oxymoron to think like, wait a minute, it's healthy for my health, it's healthy for my relationship with food to indulge in treats? And the answer is honestly yes, because it gives you that balance and allows you to enjoy like all facets of life, and allows you to not get so crazy on one end of the spectrum, which will in time will just be self-deprecative in time. And so My final tip that I have for you guys is to let your body tells you what it needs. And this has also helped me so much with overthinking, because I would always overthink, especially with how much to eat, because I never really was into tracking my food. I would always overthink like what to eat, how much to eat. Should I have this if I had this day, even if it was a certain craving? Our bodies are so freaking smart, and they are one with us. This is again where my spirituality has really helped shape this facet of my relationship with food. But your body will tell you, if you're craving something, you're craving it for a reason. Your body will tell you truly what it needs, and it will tell you how much it needs. That's why we have hunger cues. And so if you just relax, release that anxiety, sink into your body, and just, again, practice what I said previously, practice listening to your intuitive nudges, practice listening to your cravings, practice leaning into your hunger cues. That's what's going to help allow them to become clearer and louder and easier for you to listen to. And so you have to trust your body, and this will come in time. This has taken me, I don't mean this in a discouraging way. I just mean this in the sense of that it takes time. It has taken me years. So don't get discouraged if in the moment, if now the day you're listening to this, you try to really listen to your hunger cues and your cravings. It's hard for you. It's still fuzzy. That's okay. In time, it's going to become clearer, and you're going to, again, how you need to develop that relationship with yourself. This relationship with you and your food and your body and what your body needs, that's also going to take time to develop as well. So have patience and grace with yourself, but I promise you that it gets easier and it gets clearer. And so if you're craving, like fully, if I find myself craving a lot of carbs one day, if I actually think about it, I'm like, whoa, I actually didn't eat that many carbs yesterday. It's almost always like that to the T, or maybe it's 2 days previously. I'm like, oh, I actually didn't eat a lot of carbs the past couple days. And so now I find myself craving popcorn or rice or a lot of oatmeal, or I really want to get ice cream that day. If I think about it, I'm like, actually, this is usually just because I'm low on carbohydrates. My body is craving more carbs. So that's something to consider too. Like sometimes not always your cravings for like fast food or ice cream or donuts, that could just be an indication that you were malnourished on another nutrient previously. So a lot of the times it's if I, maybe I didn't eat a lot of fats, maybe I'm craving a lot of peanut butter or nut butter. I'm like, oh, that's just because I didn't have a lot of fats. Or again, if I was low on carbs, I might want more ice cream or donuts. I keep saying ice cream as my example just because I love ice cream and it's what I find myself wanting when I'm having a craving. Or for example, if you're craving something really salty or fast food, like maybe you were low on salt that day, healthy salt, less processed salt, that sort of thing. So your cravings will give you insight to what you were lacking in terms of nutrients and nourishment the previous days. So I would take a look at making sure that you're able to fill in any nutritional gaps that you might have had the past few days. Or if you've been feeling like, your nutrition has still been on point. It's honestly crazy because I bet you if you feel like nutrition was honestly on point, you really wouldn't have cravings. It's amazing how the body works. But if you still want ice cream because it's been a while, you want fast food because it's been a while, listen to that. Listen to your body is telling you, because it's telling you that for a reason. And in terms of how much to eat, listen just freaking to your hunger cues. Things that help me is eating more slowly, making sure I'm hydrated, having really balanced meals, of making sure I'm having high protein meals with healthy fats and good carbohydrates in them as well, with a lot of fiber. That will help to make sure that I'm actually nourished and help with satiety signals. And eating like that really helps me to have an honest picture of what my body needs, because I'm filling in those gaps of nutritiously. Here's the thing. Your body is going to continue to eat until it feels like it has actually retrieved all of its nutrients. So when you're eating in a way that's very nutrient dense, you're very going to get a very clear and efficient and effective picture of how much you actually need to eat, because you're filling in all those gaps. If you're eating a lot of empty calories, your body's going to feel like it needs to keep eating. It's not going to feel satiated because it's looking for those nutrients. So that's why when people eat very nutrient dense foods, they feel more satiated while eating lower calories, because they're eating very efficiently, is a way to say it, because they're eating in a way to check off all those boxes. So the body's like, yep, I got everything I need. I don't need to keep eating more calories in search to find those nutrients. So that's just like a really big thing that has allowed me to help trust my body and trust my hunger cues. So I feel like I just went off on a rant. Sometimes when I feel like I black out sometimes when I have these episodes, because I'm just going off. I just am like, whew, that was a lot. But the last thing I want to say, especially with being on like the other side of a quote unquote influencer, with me growing up, especially again, like I said, when I was 17, looking up to other influencers, other content creators to help with my relationship with food. I guess I just wanted to share where I am now, being on the other side of things. I'm still not perfect. I still overthink what I eat sometimes. I still feel like I'm not eating enough some days. Sometimes I feel like I'm eating too much some days. Sometimes I'm like, did I get enough nutrients in? Like, did I eat enough balanced food? Like, sometimes I still overthink it. And I just want to share that because I guess even now, I just know how much of a normal person I still am. Even though I know some people will call me celebrities or be like, I look up to you so much, which means so much to me, and I'm flattered and I'm honored, but I still am 100% a normal person. And I guess sometimes being where I am now, I think about the content creators and the influencers I still watch now, and sometimes I wonder, I'm like, are they like fully, completely chilling with their relationship with food? Like, does it ever consume them? Do they overthink it ever? And it just makes me wonder. And so I just want to say, like, sometimes, yes, I do overthink it. And it's something I'm still always working on every single day, becoming more and more at peace with my body signals, with my internal cravings, with my intuition, and with building a healthy relationship with food. I'm constantly working on it every single day. But I will say it has gotten infinitely so much better than what it was, and it has gotten so much easier than what it was. And those quote unquote struggles that I'm referring to now have gotten so much more quieter, and they've turned into a fleeting, temporary feeling that does not consume me nearly as much as they used to in the past. And so I just want to share that in terms of, no, I'm not perfect. I don't think perfect is ever the goal. I don't think you should ever have this expectation that you're never, ever, ever going to have to think twice about food, because at least coming from me right now and the best information that I have, I don't want to give you guys an unrealistic goal and expectation, but I do want your guys' goal to just be improvement, to every day try to be more at peace with the food you're putting in your body, how you're treating your body, how you're fueling your body, how you're listening to your body. So I just want to let you guys know it does get better. It does get easier. This is a thing that I'm constantly working on every single day. And I think that that's okay and that's normal. And I think reminding yourself of that will help you to not also put so much pressure on healing your relationship with food and feeling like you need to create this perfect relationship with food. So for the affirmation for today, I hope this helps you if you're ever feeling like you're overthinking what to eat. It says, I choose foods that nourish both my mind and my spirit. One more time. I choose foods that nourish both my body and my spirit. I love you guys so freaking much. I really think I liked this episode. I'll see how it goes when I'm editing it, but I just feel like that was a whole freaking mouthful. But I love you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really hope this helped. And thank you guys so much for watching or listening. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.